Derek, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Sadie? Great to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm excited to talk to you today about the future of marketing.
Yeah.
AI is a huge topic for our industry. It's in virtually every meeting, every discussion, every conference. So as marketers today, there's been a lot of AI hype to really dig in on what does AI mean, how can it accelerate our workflows, how can it accelerate our growth. And of course, at the heart of all that is the consumer journey. And as marketers, that always is how we think: consumer first, customer first. How do we think about reaching them with the right messages at the right time?
Yeah.
So how are you thinking about that?
Well, first of all, I agree entirely. This is an exciting time, both because the consumer journey is changing, but also what marketers can do about it is evolving. And so as we look at kind of the consumer journey, it's getting more accelerated, more diverse in terms of the types of experiences consumers are going through. But what marketers can do about it is take a much more nuanced approach in how they go about actually addressing that. And so when we kind of step back and think about marketing historically has kind of had to take some more simplified approaches, like the traditional marketing funnel, just because of constraints that were always there. And now what AI unlocks is the ability to kind of completely rethink how they go about both planning, buying, execution, and to really focus in on what's driving influence, like what is actually mattering to the consumer at different, and what are all the different paths that consumers are taking, and being able to map that out and create what we're calling influence maps that can actually say, you know, the role of search or TV or any other channel is actually may play many different types of roles across that funnel. So we really love how that's getting unlocked and giving marketers completely new opportunities. So Sadie, how are you at Google thinking about the consumer journey?
We see the new consumer journey in sort of 4 different behaviors: streaming, scrolling, shopping, and searching.
Mm-hmm.
And most people aren't necessarily doing that in a mutually exclusive way. Think about when you're watching TV, you usually have your phone, you might be scrolling. Or you might see something on TV, you might take a photo of it and then immediately circle, go to shop. So these behaviors are all overlapping, but that's what's exciting because AI can now allow us to figure out where people are, what behaviors they're taking, and how we can reach them as marketers in those moments.
Really well said, and extremely exciting in terms of what that can allow marketers to do and how they can kind of change their approach from saying, okay, how are we going to be more fluid in how we think about the budget allocation across those different channels, and not just say awareness is classically one channel and performance marketing is another, and actually think about it as more of an integrated picture that's more holistic. And I think also how we reach consumers and how we talk to them is changing a lot. So we had to take a large production process to just focus on one segment in one region. Now we say, okay, we can move creative so much faster. Creative video actually getting done in like 1/4, 1/5 of the time. And so we can actually create targeted video for each segment, each region, a lot more versioning, and that's just completely changing how we can actually go about communicating to customers much more effectively.
Agreed. I've been seeing some really incredible work created with Gen AI video, VO2 in particular. It's extraordinary. And what's so crazy to think about is that the creative we're seeing from Gen AI today is the worst it's going to ever be. And it's pretty incredible right now. So it's going to continue to get better and, to your point, faster. And so it's these creatives, which are still critically important as humans, putting in ideas and big concepts, can now get just to execution faster. So can you tell me more about what you're seeing there?
Yeah, absolutely. We are seeing already a big diversion in what the leaders are able to do versus their peers. And for example, we're seeing that leaders are able to generate content 4 times faster than others. And they're also doing copywriting 5 times faster than their peers. So this is just something where you're seeing a lot of acceleration and speed of production, and we expect that to just enhance and increase much more over time.
What I think is also interesting is not only are we getting to work or creative faster, but as marketers, we are all striving to demonstrate significant growth for the business. And of the marketers that are really leading the way in AI, the research that was done shows that AI leaders are seeing 60% greater revenue growth than their peers, which is extraordinary and very important for all of us to consider as marketers, is how can we infuse AI into our ways of working to show that growth in a faster way and in a more impactful way than ever before. For those marketers that are seeing 60% greater revenue growth than their peers, tell us about what are they doing to really lead the way?
Yeah. Well, there's really 6 things that we distilled that we saw the leaders doing differently than their peers. They've been able to gather together and integrate more of their customer data and has created that 360 view that we've all been kind of striving towards. Secondly is just the organizations have been very open to experimentation, and that's going to be something that's going to be really important right now, is just the ability to test and learn and to try different things as we move forward with AI. Third is the fluidity of budgeting decision making, and so that you can actually adapt and not have quarterly or even monthly cycles, but have things that are much faster and being able to shift dollars between what's working and what's not. Fourth is personalization and really being able to target people based on what they care about. We've talked about that for years, but I think we're now getting to a point where that's kind of the 3.0 or 4.0 version of it, where it's truly kind of realizing its potential. And then fifth is creative, and we've talked about that and just how much that's accelerating and how much faster people can actually get to creative production. And then lastly, number 6 is around people and process. And we think that's probably one of the most important parts of this, which is skills, talent, cross-functional connections across the organization, and changing the workflows and changing how you actually go about implementing things. So it's really about pulling all that together. It's not just doing one thing, but being able to set a roadmap, being able to understand the holistic picture of what you want to accomplish, and working towards those different pieces.
I love those 6 because they're very clear. And so as a marketer who is trying to figure out, where do I begin? How do I do this? Where should our teams focus? It gives a blueprint for how they can take some steps forward. We've actually been saying that CMO now stands for Change Management Officer, because there is a lot of change that needs to take place, and we need to bring people along, otherwise we will not be able to achieve what we want to achieve with AI. So those are some of the areas that those AI leaders are really capitalizing on to see that growth. What should everyone else do if there's marketers out there that aren't yet maybe leading the way? How are folks kind of moving along the progression?
First, starting with what are the essentials that you need to have in place? What's the foundation? Often that's about data, talent, pulling that all together. The next step is being purposeful and saying, what are the pilots or the tests that we're going to start to scale up against that are going to create value and proof points? Because we don't want to build forever. We want to start to see value within the organization. And then finally, what we're seeing as more of the future is, how do you create a flywheel where you actually are having the role of the human, the role of the machine shift a little bit, where marketers are picturing what the outcomes are going to be, setting the strategy, and then measuring on the back end, but having the ability to let the machine kind of run some of the more processes in the middle. So we're excited about that journey, but I think it is all about planning it out, having a clear roadmap and a vision for your organization, and working through the steps to get there.
And I think also, to the point about being a change management officer, you can't do it alone, and none of us can do it alone. We really now need, as marketers, we're leading the way with AI in a lot of ways, but we can't do it without a CTO, CIO, legal, CFO. We've got to find our magic circle, as we've been calling it, and figuring out who do we need beside us to actually make some of these decisions, to pilot, to start to experiment, to learn, and to get toward that greater impact.
Yeah, we've talked about de-siloing and the importance of cross-functional activity, but AI is really the ultimate kind of silo killer, right? Where you've got now this moment where you just can't operate a truly advanced organization when everybody's working in different silos, because AI is going to require tech teams, marketing teams, sales teams, everybody working together, and also explaining the value to the CFO and to the CEO in a way that actually makes sense. So that cross-functional kind of pod structure or that way of working is just fundamentally different, and the faster you can kind of get there, the better for your team.
Great. Thank you for being here with me today. I really enjoyed the conversation. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. Great to see you.
And excited for the future of marketing.
Yeah.